Hello, everyone. Welcome to Snap Take. This is Glazer. Today, we've got three decks. Two of them I can guarantee success, and you can watch my success. The first deck you're looking at right now is the deck that I got in Infinity Border with on stream on the last night of the season. The next deck is going to be the deck I got a day one shot, rode it straight to infinite list with a 83, I think, 80 something percent win rate. I have it written down later. And the final deck will be an update to the destroy list that is sort of taking over the meta. So we have a massive amount of really cool decks for you. Again, guaranteed to work effective decks. So I call this first deck Easy Wins. This is Cougar's version of the move list. It's absolutely incredible. I have serious Marvel Snap advice for you before we even talk about this list. That very serious Marvel Snap advice for you is as follows. Don't play fair right now. Don't do things that are fair and balanced. Don't try and play things that are trying to control and keep the points down, just to go straight over the top. There's not enough tech out there. There's not enough stuff that counters decks out there to really punish you for just playing big numbers. And that's what this deck does. It is amazing at just pulling big numbers. The creator of this list you can find at twitch.tv/Cougar. He doesn't stream often, but make sure you're there when he does. Double the O, triple the R for Cougar. You can watch the stream VOD at twitch.tv/PulseGlazer. It should be the stream from, I believe, Tuesday morning for those of you who are looking. So if you're going to check twitch.tv/PulseGlazer, I wasn't on YouTube for that one, just on Twitch if you're interested. This deck only needs Sparky and Tribunal. That's a big change. I used to think we needed Aranya and Madam Web. Hello, Cat. I don't actually think we need those cards any longer. I think that they're nice, they're very helpful, but they're not remotely required. Misery can be either Frigga or Taskmaster. There are versions of this that run Misery, there are those that don't. I'll go over why Misery is in the deck later. Frigga and Taskmaster would obviously be copying your big Human Torch. Aranya, or Madam Web, excuse me, could be Cloak, Topaz, or Zorn. Zorn is spelled with an X as well. But they can be Cloak, Topaz, or Zorn without any real trouble. Cloak is just a way to play a card and then have some active move toward the end of the game. Topaz is obviously a play and immediate move, as are Zorn. The problem with Madam Web is you're very often playing Human Torch either the turn you're winning with him, or you're unable to guarantee him in the Madam Web for the last turn. Madam Web is really nice for when you Human Torch on 5, but fairly often you're Human Torching on turn 7. And if you're Human Torching on turn 7, then you are going to want that, then that Madam Web does nothing, right? Like, you don't have a time to use it. Whereas Zorn or Topaz would at least give you a use and thus have some value. I'm not saying that Madam Web is bad, I'm just saying this isn't her best deck. Let's go through what things do here. So Iron Fist, Ghost Spider, and Aranya are your early movers. They're your one-shot and done movers. Your goal is to move them, to move your Human Torch into a Hercules, or be able to move it an extra time with Sparky, or use these cards in combination. You can also, if you're again doing this on turn 5, move it into to finish at Madam Web. Doctor Strange is not a one drop, but he operates under the exact same premise as these other cards. Madam Web is, again, you play her early and you just sort of let her sit. Opponents will often blow things like Red Guardian and Enchantress on her, and I think, honestly, a lot of the best use I have gotten from her in this deck is opponents sort of using an Enchantress on Madam Web, and then me knowing that I can play a Tribunal freely later in the game. That is obviously a very powerful thing. You do have to be careful of Cosmic Ghost Rider, but that's not a huge problem because a lot of your early plays you're not super worried about. You just play around them getting hit early. Sparky, however, is incredible. The +3 and double is an insane amount of power. It's just that simple. It gives you exact information about where you're playing things. It's really useful. If you are playing Torch before Tribunal, it is often wise to save the Sparky and use the Sparky on that last turn to mess with where Human Torch is. Sometimes opponents will try a Shang, excuse me, or a Shadow King. And when they do, they will sometimes forget that Spark. You're going to have to read your opponent, check their max rank, so on and so forth for that. Doctor Strange is a little expensive sometimes because sometimes on turn 7 you're trying to drop Tribunal and Ghost Spider, and Doctor Strange is just a touch too expensive for that play. So be it. He's still really good. He's still a great way to get especially if you end up with a surprise a surprise extra play of the card that's name is escaping me of a Cosmic Ghost Rider. Doctor Strange can get a suddenly stranded Human Torch out of trouble. It's also really good to move a Human Torch back into a Hercules lane or out of a Hercules lane that it ended up in, so that then you can trigger Sparky to bounce it back to where you would like it, to where you would prefer it. Magic gives you an extra turn for combos. Crystal draws you your combos. When your combo goes fully off, you're putting out a million power, and there's nothing the opponent can do about it. Misery on Crystal means you've drawn your whole deck. That's it. 7 turns plus Crystal plus Misery, you've drawn your whole deck. That means you see your combo, you probably win. Misery has two other uses. One is she's really, really good against Claude. Sometimes your opponents are going to do silly stuff like goblins and other cards like that, and Misery as a way to get rid of that is very nice. This deck does suffer from a lack of board space. The other use for Misery is just she's a 4/9. In the final game that I hit Infinite with, Misery's 4/9 body mattered. Tribunal being a 4/9, even when a 6/9, even when Alioth matters. Of course, that's not our main plan, but it's good to have a backup plan, and that 9 is sometimes enough, as opponents often have to dedicate a lot of their time to stopping you and slowing you down. Um, Tribunal is the way to spread the giant Human Torch around. You should relatively easily be getting Human Torch to 60 in this list. It is not hard to get Human Torch to like 2 to 300, 2 to 400 in this list either. So again, once you get into the habit of playing this, it's really easy wins. The trick is not to do your Human Torch shit too early or everyone will just run. Turn 1, Aranya. Turn 2, Sparky over Madam Web. Turn 3, Crystal over Hercules over Magic over a 2-drop. If you already have a bunch of movers, Torch and Tribunal, you don't have to Crystal. Reasonably often you're going to. If you already have all your combos in place, you don't have to Magic. Reasonably often you're going to. From there, we have Magic, Misery, or on Crystal, or a turn 3 play for turn 4. Once in a while, if you think your opponent is going to like Legion or Scarlet Witch on turn 5, it happens more than you think. You often don't have Prio. You can play the Magic right on top of the Crystal on turn 4, and then you can Misery them on turn 5. That still gives you turn 6 and 7 to play Tribunal and have Torch go off. So turn 4, you're going off Torch. Generally speaking, that's Iron Fist, trigger Aranya, play Torch, play Doctor Strange or Ghost Spider. You're trying to get Torch into Hercules a couple of times here. Remember, it's relatively safe to Doctor Strange or Ghost Spider the Human Torch back into that Hercules lane, so you don't have to worry about them missing because Human Torch ended up in the same lane that you played those cards in, and that works pretty well. You can also do any of the turn 3 and 4 stuff if you have a 7th turn on turn 5. Turn 6, Tribunal, or go off with Torch. And then, like, you can do the same thing on turn 7. It's really simple. It's really straightforward. It puts up stupid points. People are not playing enough Shang-Chi right now. People are not playing enough Shadow King right now. And basically nothing else really stops this. Mercury supposedly stops this, but the problem Mercury often runs into is you're going off so late, is that if you can manage to play around where Mercury is toward the end of the game, and they're gonna like move Mercury to your Madam Web lane reasonably often. If you should be able to just use Human Torch in the other lanes and still often enough get big enough to win the Marvel Snap game. You don't have Prio, so beware of Life, beware of Cosmo, but you're not seeing those most games. You should just be good to sort of go over the top to win a lot of games of Snap. Enjoy. You will occasionally get beat for some extra cubes, but I got an infinity border with this without too much trouble. If you want to check the stream, I also had the great Sizer join me for match 4 and 5. I also had a 75% win rate with this deck on ladder at the end of last season, so don't worry about how good it is. This is a legit and proven Marvel Snap top tier deck, and again, its power is that it doesn't play fair. It doesn't play with numbers that other decks can trust. To can touch. We'll look at another deck that messes with that kind of numbers, but before we do, please hit that sub, leave a like, and leave a comment. It would be massively helpful if you are inclined and willing to do so to help out the channel. In addition, we are giving away 5 Zombie Scarlet Witches this week. All you have to do is sub, like, and then leave a comment later this video. Today's video is very simple. It's going to be free parking. Tell me anything you want about anything, the new season, life, the universe, and you're entered to win the Zombie Scarlet Witch for this week. Any comments on a video this week can enter you to win one of the 5 Zombie Scarlet Witches. All right, so I featured this deck yesterday as a quick, like, these are one of the 10 decks I think it's best to hit Infinite with, and right after that, I went on stream. I had already played this a little bit in the low 80s. I finished my Infinite climb straight from 80 to 100 with this list in one stream in one about 2-hour spot shot. The VOD is live on both Twitch and YouTube if you want to check it out. There's a lot of tricks to this deck. I was able to beat things like Supergiant multiple times. I was able to beat Killmonger multiple times. I was able to beat Cosmic Ghost Rider multiple times. This deck is beatable, but it's really, really hard. This is one of the most OP things I've ever played. It's completely nuts. Don't forget to check out the stream. VOD if you want to see some gameplay from this at twitch.tv/pulseglazer. It will be the, I want to say, Wednesday morning stream for most of you. I live in Vietnam, so it's Wednesday night for me, and it will be right here on YouTube. Same thing. You can press the live button, find the VOD at youtube.com/@snapjudgmentspot right here where you are. So this deck needs Invisible Woman for steps, Athena, Jocasta, Prodigy, and it took me a while to come to terms with this, but it needs Marvel Boy. What Marvel Boy is your big cube winner against human beings. Against bots, you're going so big that you're often going to go way over the top. I didn't see that many bots. You can check the VOD if you don't believe me. I saw, I think, 2 or 3 bots for most of the time, and I was not getting 8 cubes from the bots, so don't fear. The stats are largely against real human beings that were climbing to infinite. So Marvel Boy is how you really get big cubes against real human beings because they'll think certain lanes are done, and then Marvel Boy, because you can get like 10 Invisible Woman for steps triggers, will all of a sudden add 10 power to a lane that looked clogged off through 1-drops, or even 20 power if you have 2 1-drops there, which is utterly absurd. Hydra Bob is great here. Hydra Bob is great here largely because of Fantasticar, but it's also really nice for Jocasta or Invisible Woman into um, Hydra Bob and Prodigy, or Hydra Bob and Hydra Bob and Prodigy to copy Invisible Woman or to copy the Jocasta. You should snap the Hydra Bob away at that point, generally speaking, to get it out of the way so you can play other cards on Jocasta, and you're now double Jocasta. That's really nice. You can also just run Squirrel Girl. Sometimes you're short on 1 for Marvel Boy. Just playing those 2 at the end with your combo is enough to win a lot of games. Fantasticar can be Omega Sentinel. I'm reasonably convinced for this version, Fantasticar is better. People don't accurately count what the ridiculous power Fantasticar is going to add is. And then Bruce can be Mr. Fantastic first steps. Cool. Bruce is fine, but unless you're doing the Invisible Woman thing, do not rely on Bruce. Almost all of my losses were me going, Bruce is going to do the thing, or like my more than 1 cube loss were me going, Bruce is going to do the thing. And because I didn't have multiple Invisible Woman triggers, Bruce did not do the thing. Only rely on him if he is multiple triggering. All right, so we have 4 1-drops. Sunspot is your biggest card. Straight up, he gets to above 30 power relatively easily in this deck. He is completely nuts. Feel free to play very little at the end of the game if you have Sunspot because he is a lane winner. You can hold him for as late as you want. He doesn't need to get the ambient power throughout the game. You can play him late and be fine. Spider Ham is severely underrated here. You are not, NOT not, Jocasting the Spider Ham. Cool. Your goal for Spider Ham is he tells you what your opponent is playing. The real value here is you want to know, should I be playing around a Cosmic Ghost Rider? Should I be playing around a bunch of move stuff? What is my opponent going to do? How much power do you need to allocate? And Spider Ham gives you a lot of that information. He can also be a snap condition. In Mirrors, an opponent hit something unimportant in one game, and my Spider Ham hit Invisible Woman for steps. They ran. It's just that simple. That's incredible. Hydra Bob we talked about. It gets real big with Fantasticar. It does not care about Invisible Woman first steps, although it jumping all over the board with Invisible Woman first steps Jocasta shenanigans will crash Marvel Snap. Fair warning. But it lets you play 2 cards in 1 lane without worrying as much about clog. Black Cat is also just keyword big with Fantasticar. Keyword big is good. Yeah, that's that. Athena is a late play. Generally speaking, I play Athena on turn 5 if possible. I'll play her earlier, but generally on turn 5. If you get the 10 triggers, Athena goes to 33 power. There's a game where there was a Morbius on the Onslaught Citadel, and I had the whole combo, and I just dropped Athena there, and my Athena went to 33 power. That's gross. I don't know. Oh, sorry, she was already at 3 because I played her on turn 5. So, and then she popped up to 33 power, which is gross. Bruce is generally speaking a 12, but fairly often he's an 18 or something because of Fantasticar. That's a nice number to have access to. He is the worst card in the deck by a fair amount. He's just here because there's not a better end of turn ability. Havoc will only get up to about 16 or 18 power in this list, no matter how many times you trigger. He's limited to the amount of triggers until you run out of energy. So if you play him on turn 6, that would be 6 triggers, which would be a 18 power card. He can obviously go a little bigger with Fantasticar, but I know 18 power from your 2-drop that you played on the last turn feels like a lot, but in this deck it often isn't. He is less of a priority than Sunspot or Athena, who both can go 10 times. Marvel Boy can also go 10 times in triggering, which means he's giving 3 power 10 times. That's a 30 power addition at the end of the game. Almost every big cube win I had was thanks to Marvel Boy being a completely freaking insane card. Jocasta doubles either Invisible Woman or Fantasticar. Sometimes you're not going to see either. You're sad. I lost a couple games because of that. You can also Jocasta is also a priority over Invisible Woman because prodigying Jocasta leads to more Invisible Woman triggers than prodigying Invisible Woman. Why is that true? Because the Jocastas will trigger each other. The Jocasta and Prodigy will trigger each other, giving you extra Invisible Woman triggers. That's your true nut draw. Same thing is true, obviously, of copying Prodigy copying Jocasta over Fantasticar. You don't really want to copy anything else with Jocasta, but there are occasional times you'll copy a Athena, you'll copy a Sunspot, so on and so forth, if you don't see your whole combos. It's wins games, right? I've won games with Prodigy copying Athena just fine. Sometimes the draw order isn't ideal. Invisible is your big power curve, and Fantastica is your backup plan. Both are incredibly, incredibly strong. So I went 38 and 9 on my way to Infinite. That's an 83% win rate, and I was plus 110 cubes in those 47 games. So well over a 2 cube average. This deck is, I'd like to reiterate, utterly and absolutely disgusting. Turn 1 Black Cat over Ham over Sunspot over Pass. And some quick location notes. Black Cat and Spider Ham, I will play blind right almost always. Could be blind mid, it doesn't matter. Sunspot, I will play left if I have to play Sunspot. Otherwise, I'm passing. I don't want my hand to get too clogged by certain locations, so I'll sometimes drop Sunspot early, although I really, really hate to do so. I almost never Hydra Bob early because the Hydra Bob on turn 4 play is so strong. Sunspot on turn 4 is also similarly strong because he turns your Jocasta Invisible Woman lane into a really, really powerful lane that your opponent has to respect. Turn 2 Black Cat, because otherwise she's gone, over Bruce or Ham, which is more or less equal to Athena. Depends what else you have. If you need the 1-drop, you play Athena. If not, you can play the Ham. Ham gets stuck in hand every once in a while. It's not a big deal. Turn 3 Jocasta over Invisible Woman over Marvel Boy over 2+1. And once you have Jocasta Invisible Woman, you're looking to snap. Reasonably often, I was not snapping because I'm trying to bait my opponents into snapping. I'm trying to encourage them to snap. Turn 4 1 plus Jocasta Invisible Woman, 1 plus Prodigy, as the case may be, and that's better than Helicarrier. Jocasta Invisible Woman and Prodigy copying Jocasta Invisible Woman are better plays than Helicarrier. Just play them over Helicarrier, you'll be fine. Turn 4, Prodigy on Jocasta Invisible Woman and Athena, or you can play like a 4 and a 1 if you have the Jocasta out. That would be Helicarrier and a 1 if you have the Jocasta out. You can play the Helicarrier and Sunspot, that kind of thing. Play 2 cards, you'll be fine. Once in a while, it'll just be 1 card, right? It'll just be like, I played Helicarrier, let's go. Turn 6, Marvel Boy and Havoc, then Trigger Everything is your ideal play. You can still play and activate on Jocasta or Prodigy. Sometimes you don't bother with the Havoc. You play Marvel Boy and like a 1-drop, or if you have Marvel Boy out, you just play 2 1-drops so that the Sunspot gets even bigger. While you don't play Jocasta on the last turn, right? That's silly. But you can easily play the Helicarrier or Invisible Woman on the last turn with your Marvel Boy, Havoc, Sunspot, whatever. And then when you trigger the Jocasta, you will get those triggers too. Especially if you have double Jocasta, that still remains incredibly strong. This deck puts up way more power than it looks like. I urge you once more to watch the VOD. This is utterly disgusting. The move decks, the end of turn decks, go so freaking big. There is nothing to say, do, or even talk about with it. They are absurd. Play them, win with them. If you are close to one of these decks, outside of Bruce, I urge you to save up and get them. We've got to talk Destroy, and then we'll be out of here. But before we do, I should be live later tonight at twitch.tv/PulseGlazer. I'll be a little late, I think, because I got to do a bit of grading, and I got to get tomorrow's video ready. But outside of that, we'll be live at twitch.tv/PulseGlazer. I'm thinking about 9-10 a.m. Eastern, if you're interested. Now, that is not the season pass question. The season pass question is very, very simply, how you doing? What's going on? Free barking. Our Season Pass Premium question is, Season Pass Premium card is Headpull, who is, if you're new here, when this is destroyed, return it to your hand, then give all cards in your hand +1 power. There was this big conversation about what the cut from this deck was, and most people cut Agony when they added Headpull. And everyone went, I'm not sure Headpull is better than Agony. Headpull is so good. Roram figured out what to do. Roram had like an 80% win rate on his way to Infinite. He cut neither. He kept the Agony, he kept the Headpull, he instead cut Wolverine. Let's just talk through this very quickly, what the process and the plans here are. Agony is here almost exclusively for Deadpool. You don't really care about hitting anything else. You'll hit an X-23 once in a while, and once in a real blue moon, you'll drop a doubled Nico on there. All of that is totally fine. What you're really trying to do is get this on Deadpool. Headpool's, I guess, okay in the same way X-23 is. When you play Deadpool, you want to play Deadpool, then Headpool, and when you destroy them, Deadpool will turn to hand, then Headpool will buff the hand, and you'll get an extra buff on Deadpool. That ends up incredibly strong. Headpool has extra use here because all that extra power is added and kept by Venom, and all that extra power ends up hitting a bunch of Moira cards. So it ends up feeling sort of like cheating. Oh, and also Null, as you destroy these cards, gets the extra power of things you destroy. So Headpool is incredible. Agony is incredible for only 1 card, but that 1 card seems to be one of the key cards of the deck. Outside of that, your job is basically to play the early ones, destroy them, play some more, destroy them, and then figure out how you can combo off with Death, Null, and Deadpool, sometimes including Venom, at the end of the game to win. It's really simple. It cheats by going over the top of things in the same way. It does not usually, not always, but usually go as big as either of the other two decks. I feel very comfortable playing either of the other two decks into this. I was able to, generally speaking, beat the poopy off. Ow, ow! The cat bit me. Sorry. Ow. Um, I was generally, you're really gonna, that's what all my comments are going to be. I was generally able to beat the poopy out of this deck with the end of turn deck, and I almost always beat it as well with the big torch. So like it can win around, but it's not going to be favored in either of those matchups. However, this goes over all the mid-range stuff that people for some reason are still playing. So this is still a perfectly fine and very cheap deck to get into. Let's do some replacements because it's so cheap. But first, check out the person who figured out just cut Wolverine stupid. It's Roram, twitch.tv/RoramPlays, the winner of Golden Gauntlet 2. This deck needs X23, Nico, Headpool, Moira. Sorry, this deck needs X23, Nico, Headpool, and Moira X. I'm still in pain and bleeding from the cat. Can be Wolverine or Bucky without losing too much. I don't know. I'd probably want at least one of Nico, Headpool, or Moira X before I played this. Question of the day. Thrillo says, I listen to your podcast and watch most or all of your videos each week, but I don't really follow any other Snap creators. I've noticed over the past couple weeks that you've featured several decks from players or creators who you say recently came back to Snap. I'm curious if you're seeing a lot of prominent players and creators who stopped playing at some point coming back recently, and similarly, are other prominent players and creators leaving the game now? No, we seem to be on an upswing. We were on a downswing since the Kid Omega debacle, and it seems like a lot of people are returning. A lot of people are returning to play more. It looks like, and I don't have exact numbers on this, it looks like more people by a decent chunk hit Infinite last season, that the season that just ended, than the season before. I'm suddenly getting more views and more comments and more subs again. So I think that Snap is back on an upswing. I think a lot of what's really hurt Marvel Snap as far as content creation goes, I mean, look, a lot of people left the game. Genuinely, every content creator felt this. Every content creator stagnated. Some content creators shrunk when the Kid Omega thing happened. A lot of people walked away from the game. A lot of people stopped spending money. But also what happened is this is no longer a new game. So a lot of people just have their favorite content creators. A lot of people do what Thrillo does and just sort of watch me or watch KM or watch Regis or whoever, and they don't watch multiple creators. I don't know what the solution to that is, but Marvel Snap used to be more community where if you watched one person, we were all sort of in dialogue with each other. And that sort of no longer feels like it's the case outside of my podcast, the Snapchat podcast, where we do that. Outside of I mean, I guess that's kind of it, right? Like other podcasts do guests, but not in the same way usually. So outside of that, you're not really gonna get the same sense of community. And I would like to bring that back where like people spend hours a day watching different Marvel Snap creators, even if on fast forward, even if only for a little bit. But I don't know how to do that. I'd be curious if you watched this long, what your thoughts on that part of it are. But there are definitely a number of people returning to the game, a number of people playing more again in real serious ways, and some people are even spending more again. So it's good to see Marvel Snap bounce back. I was really, really worried for a while. Turn to your support on our Patreon. Come on here. Thanks. Before we end the video, I'm going to say thank you to our top tier patrons. If you'd like to be one, check out patreon.com/snapjudgments. Thank you to Jonesy Snap 22, Abigail Gieselman, Mandatory Burnout, It Regardless, LAB Inc., I Am Frostman, Hota Neverete, Primed Ryan, Ryan Burke, Ryan Wood Snap, Ren Wrench, Gopher Kev, Keltor, Kertixley, Koire, Kazushi, Archangel, 3K, Black Dahlia, Perfrost, The Goat Seeker, Code, Hollow, Synth, Fat Nick, Absolute Shannon, Dirte, Casual, Dark Moogle, Mr. Vuffle, Cables, Ginger Prime, Philly, Haplo, Kenny Logs, Oda Danger Zone, The Biz, Black Jeebus 23, Extra C, and Skippy G, our rhyming friends, Jess, hey Jess, Slush Death, winner of Snap Judgment League Season 1, by the way, King of Bros, The Great Kazoo, Werewolf, Kipsy, oh, bruh. Werewolf, oh, that's our first Halloween themed. Halloween's coming. KFC, Hoda, Clam, Colonel Forbin, Rob Sylvan, David, Moo, Wingfield, because Hell Cow is Moo. That is also Halloween themed. Stephen King, Halloween. Brian Kaufman, Tristan, Martin, Jason Bitt, Matt Bitt, Ray, Sean Smith, Charles, Chucky Washington, Corin Junkie, and Jim McHugh, Cute Town. Just out one big man. Cactus Jack, Mick Foley taking good old stands right now on social media. Way to go, Cactus. Steve-O, Yo Marco, Ted Bro, Quid Bro Joe. The longest Snapchat is Joe. Check out the Snapchat podcast. Bickety Boom Bop, my son dropped something. Bricks do click. Green Goblin. Hey, goblins are another Halloween theme, right? Flan 56, Spectrum Mix, Hoot, Only Fox, Matt H, DJ, Mikey Ijings, No Freaking Flex, Nick, the Greek Geek. Hey, Nikki. Toxic, the Soul King. Hey, Toxie. Zadrek 74. Check out those three on Twitch, please. King of Canada, JJ is on Twitch and YouTube. Then Man Falcon is on YouTube. Thor Newman is on Twitch and YouTube. And Variety Gaming Like a Beast. Two Ties is about to complete his first successful Snap Judgments League. The great Learn with Evs of the Snap on This podcast and Marvel Snap Zone. Tucker of Twitch, YouTube, and the Marvel Yap podcast. And of course, Gunny T, where the T stands for Thank you all for watching. Hopefully, you have the same success I did with these decks. Peace.